everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Canadian Country Music Podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hey everyone. If you are watching the premiere, make sure to click into the live chat button and chat with us. If you're listening on any major podcast streaming platform, such as Spotify or Anchor, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I am your host, Tim Albertson, Canadian country artist and lover. And on today's episode, we have the amazingly talented PAIGE Rutledge, whose new single, Broken Record, is available everywhere today. PAIGE, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Tim. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So, as always, I do a little backstory on how I actually found you out. So, my song Closure came up on the Canadian Indie Country Countdown at the same time that Take Me Back to Tiki was coming out.
I do remember seeing that, yes.
and that song, literally, just like last week with Christina, that song was like, we were back and forth. If I heard your song, it was either my song had come on already or my song is up next. Yeah. So where did that song reach on the countdown?
It finished. Oh, now you're making me go back. In my brain. I believe it finished in the top 10, which was great because I didn't have any expectations going into it. When I was releasing Tiki back in October, just like even talking about releases in general, that release taught me a lot about releasing music, like just in its own way. And I did a little bit more research than I was used to, as I realized I probably should have been doing, but we learn as we go, right? All of those things. And so I didn't have any expectations going into it. And I wasn't like still fully sure about what the whole process was about. It was a really cool way to find new songs. I found so many new artists, like I was listening to your music. And it finished in the top 10. I think it was 7 or 6. I could be somewhere in there, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, right? Like, and it's such a good song. If anybody hasn't heard it right now, go check it out on Spotify or any major streaming platform, because it is one of those. And also, Hendrik had sent me your song, Broken Record, which the hook on that song is incredible. It is very catchy. So congratulations on that. So for people who haven't heard of PAIGE Rutledge before, PAIGE, can you give just a little brief bio on yourself? I know we started singing at a young age, so let's start there and we'll make our way forward.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of, I guess, like sad-ish how I got into music, but I also think it's important because it is like a really big part of me. So I did start singing really young, always loved to sing. And my mom always tells this story where when I was so young, the only way I would stop crying as a kid or as a baby is if they would put on Shania Twain. So I think they should have known from that moment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, right. But I always loved to sing and spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up. My mom and dad are both involved in sports and they coach kids. So they were working evenings and my brother and I would go to our grandparents, and my grandpa introduced me to all of like the country greats like Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash. We would sit there and listen, and oh my gosh, Charlie Pride, which I have a lot more respect for now, but we listened to so much Charlie Pride growing up where I was like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I take it back.
I'm done.
But spent a lot of time with my grandpa, and he built me a stage at our cottage, like just all of these wonderful things. So he ended up getting really sick when I was young. I was 9, and he had asked me to come over and sing to him. And I was like, yeah, like that's nice. Like I'll go spend my days with my grandpa. We knew like it wasn't going to be a good outcome. So my parents were like, go spend as much time as you can. So I'd go over and he would ask me to sing to him. So when he passed away, I was again 9. Apparently, I don't fully remember this, but apparently I walked up to my dad and I was like, I'm going to sing at the funeral. And he was like, okay, like, sure. If you really want to, like, you're 9, like, what are you really going to do? Right. So then I sang a Miley Cyrus song because Hannah Montana.
Which one? We have to figure out which one because this can take
it. Yeah. It was I guess it was more like the Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana era. It was I Miss You. Okay. And still can't listen to that song without like just dying a little bit inside. But from that moment, and I did it, and I think I knew at that age that I was like, wow, music can really just change everything. Like it can get you through the best times, it can get you through the worst times. And I don't think there's anything else like that. So I knew in that moment that I was like, I want to do music forever. So after that, I started getting into vocal lessons, took guitar, taught myself a whole bunch of different instruments, and was just super focused and dedicated kind of from there, and knew that I wanted to do it. I learned how to write my own songs, and I was really interested in that. That was one thing that I had no clue where to start. I remember just like going into my vocal lessons being like, can we write a song today? And he's like, well, we kind of have to learn how to sing. And I was like,
Yeah.
I think I just want to write a song instead.
I'm only laughing right now because I could picture that right now with my singing teacher. She'd be like, well, first you need to learn how to sing before you learn how to write a song.
I've always been like, even still, sometimes I think was always that kid that was just like so eager and so like ready to just like jump full in, but you're like, okay, slow it back, bring it back. There's some steps we got to take here. So definitely eager and ambitious, but that's kind of how it all started. And now I'm here. I ended up just kind of singing everywhere and anywhere that would let me play, even when I was young, at a whole bunch of different local bars, which my parents would have to come along because I wasn't old enough to play. And then, and each year has just been better than the previous year, which is nice and like reassuring that everything always gets busier, and I meet more people each year and just make stronger connections and just learn a lot about myself each year, which I also think is something cool because music just teaches you so much about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, that's actually interesting because we kind of have the same backstory. Literally, your grandfather, my grandmother. Sadly, when she had passed away, in her will, it was written that she wanted me to sing at the funeral. So I ended up
Oh my God.
writing a song called "Sketched," and it's another one of those things where like I put it on an album when I was a kid, and I really haven't touched it since because I feel like, yeah, it
Yeah.
brings back a lot of memories, good memories, but hurtful memories at the same time. So yeah, that's actually incredible that we have that kind of connection there.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
right? And then, of course, we also have the singing lessons and stuff. I went into singing lessons basically because somebody told me when I was younger that you have a really good voice, but I think you really need singing lessons. And I took that as a seriously, like, ouch, ouch. Yeah, well, maybe you need people talking lessons, but
That's hilarious.
but yeah, and then I went in and I met my singing teacher, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I want,
I get it.
yeah,
I get
I
it.
get it. You sing up here, I sing down here. I want to come up here with you. Teach me
Yeah,
everything, master. Denise, shout out to
exactly.
you. So that's amazing. So how about your inspirations? What kind of artists do you feel most inspired by?
Well, Shania Twain is my go-to forever. So for me, Shania Twain, well, like, as I said, I grew up listening to Shania Twain. She was also my first concert.
As I feel a lot of us did.
A lot, and as
Yeah.
we should have,
Right.
right? That is the right thing. She's just so, first of all, she's a phenomenal artist, and she's just in so many things in the country world that is just like Queen Shania, right? But it's also what I find the most inspiring is that she's Canadian. And
Yeah.
I hold on to that a lot because I'm like, if Shania can do it, well, really anybody can do it. Like there's no dream that's too
No,
big.
exactly. Once that one person breaks that barrier, now that barrier is wide open.
Exactly. And I even find what I've noticed more recently too is I see less and less of that barrier where it's like anybody can just do anything. And I think that's a really cool thing. And like just that whole idea in general is super inspiring. But yeah, Shania Twain is a huge inspiration, especially now that like kind of with this broken record, but Take Me Back to Tiki too, like my more recent releases, I've drawn more on my like Shania Twain influence and like the pop side
Yeah.
of it, which I'm here for. I love it. I finally feel like, not that I was never happy before, but I was like, I finally feel like, yes, this is what I want my music to sound like. Um, Also, I'm a huge fan of Carrie Underwood just because that girl can sing. Like
Right.
she can sing.
There are certain people in the world that can sing with a microphone in a
Yeah,
studio and they all sound this, or just sitting in the shower, and every single thing that she says is like
massive.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. She's phenomenal. And you know what? I'm a really big fan of Dolly Parton. I just think Dolly is a fantastic role model in the country music industry. And also, my favorite part about Dolly is that she like stands up for herself, like sings what she wants, but she's also super sparkly. And I
Yeah.
think it's like the perfect little combo, like being so sparkly. And I actually used this in a song the other day I was writing with a friend, and we used like sparkly and strong was like the inspiration, talking about like women in the music industry. And I think Dolly is the perfect representation of that. And she's just a phenomenal
Yeah,
songwriter.
absolutely. Oh,
Like
and oh,
crazy.
We could say this, talking about Dolly could be a whole other podcast right now. That's incredible. Do you seek inspiration outside of country music at all?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't like I am pretty and I recognize like a good song when a good song is a good song. But I do spend most of my time just listening to country just because I love it. I just think it's such a pure and like beautiful genre of music. Um but like I do draw a lot of inspiration, maybe not necessarily from like any other artist I can pinpoint right now, but just from like life in
Yeah.
general. Like I draw a lot of inspiration and kind of like reflecting a little bit on Take Me Back to Tiki. A lot of inspiration I actually get just kind of sitting looking at the lake. And because I sit up at the tiki bar and it's just the most beautiful view where the sunsets are not even real. Like you can't paint them. They're so beautiful
Yeah.
sometimes. And I find in those moments where I'm like nature, I guess, kind of inspires me in its own way, which I don't really know how. I haven't wrapped my head around that just yet. I just know that when I sit there, I'm like, the world is just full of so many things that I could sing about right now.
Well, for me and Aaron on our podcast, we were talking about this too, and Aaron had a really good idea that it kind of stuck with me. I think when we're in our serenity, or whether it's the lake or whether it be, I think it's just like the natural stress of everything just disappears, and for that particular moment, everything just seems naturally able to come to you at that moment. Just everything else just disappears, and all of a sudden the words just show up on the page.
I love that. That is so
Mhm.
beautiful. Like
I know.
that's the
You
perfect
need
way.
to listen to Aaron. Aaron could motivate an entire country, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I believe that.
Yeah. All right. So your new song, Broken Record. Like I said, I've already heard it. Absolutely love it. Me and the
Thank you.
missus were listening to it, and she was like, even today, she's like, do 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 do.
That makes me so happy.
So, because this podcast comes out on Sundays on YouTube and on Mondays, your song releases on Friday. So,
Yes.
it'll be out as of now when this podcast releases. But because it's releasing this week, I really want to strip down layer by layer on a song. I really want people to be able to hear what goes in to the release of a song, because I think there's a lot of people out there and fans even today that are just like, okay, well, they just post it here and then we all go listen to it, right?
Yeah. And there's
So
so much more.
yeah, and there's a lot more. Like
There's a lot
even
more.
today, I was sitting there going, I'm like, man, my song's getting this amount of plays on Spotify. Well, yeah, because that song was 2 years ago, and I did f all for promotion for it. So yeah, so I really want to strip it down layer by layer. So let's start off right at the very beginning. Can you give a backstory on what Broken Record is?
Yes. So Broken Record is actually the way. So I didn't write this song. It was a pitch song to me, which was kind of interesting because I had never done that
Mm-hmm.
before. And I had, this, I think the first time I listened to it would have been just after Tiki was released, actually, because Tiki was released and then we're gearing up for the next single, as
Yep.
one always does.
Unfortunately, yeah, there is no slowdown.
Right? We're already planning the next one. Tiki hasn't even come out yet, or I guess this airs, it's out, but we're already planning the next single. It's not even out yet. But so I was listening to the pitch songs that were given to me, and it's written by Emma Lee, Karen Kozowski, and Kira Isabella. So just all these female powerhouses killing it in Nashville.
I feel like we should have like fireworks or like a big celebration for those names as this
They
podcast is coming
deserve
out.
it. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
killing it. It's so amazing to see.
I got to open for Kira when she was on tour with Aaron Pritchett, and yeah, like, oh, so wholesome.
And you know what? It's like just a little side note of Kira Isabella. I'm a fan of Kira Isabella, and the first time I saw her was actually she was opening up for one of the Carrie Underwood tours, and I thought that was amazing. Then I saw her at Boots and Hearts one year, so it was kind of like not like a full circle moment, but kind of one of those moments. Like even just I was a little like starstruck when I saw her name on the writers, because I was just kind of like, whoa, like
yeah, like hold up.
Yeah, life can like hit you all of a sudden, and you're like, this is cool. Like now that I'm recording something that she wrote and I'm a fan of her music. And I was like, yeah, it was this nice moment. I love her. I really do. She's so great.
And like okay, so when you see her performing, she has this demeanor about her that
Mhm.
she runs the world, right? And so as an artist, it kind of threw me back. I was a little nervous to meet her because this girl's gonna chew me up here.
Yeah.
But then you actually meet Kira and she's with her fans and she's sitting there chatting. And after the show, like you're sitting down and having a drink with her, and oh my goodness, is she ever wholesome?
I believe it. She just, yeah, you're right. On stage, she means business, and I respect that about her.
Yeah, so that's absolutely hilarious that we had that connection with Kira. And I mean, once you have that song on, like once you have her name on that songwriting, like, yep, absolutely, please.
Yeah, and it was so like listening through the pitches, going through, and like I said, this was the first time I had done something like this, and I took it as an experience to learn about like kind of that side of the industry. And I was like, it's just good to make connections, like, get yourself out there, meet new people. And I listened to Broken Record, and I listened to like the intro, and I
Mhm.
paused it, and I was like, this is my song. I was like, this is the
Don't you
song.
love that? Don't you love like when you're listening to songs and you're getting pitched them and you just hear that one lick and you're like, I don't even need to listen to the
Like, I don't,
other. I already know it's in.
yeah.
Who
And
demoed the song for you, by the way? Who was
it
it?
was Kira on
Yeah,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
also have had that moment too where I've had that specific artist that has demoed the song, and I've honestly told the songwriter, I'm like, I don't know if I like the song or I just like the reason that they're singing it.
Exactly. Right? A little bit of me and like the fan of me took over, but I
Yeah.
was, no, this song. And it was, as I'm like listening to it, and I showed my family and showed my friends, like my close friends. And I was like, what do you guys think? Cause I'm like, I can make this decision because I'm in love with the
Mhm,
song too, but like it's also the bigger picture too. Like I need other people to like it and relate to
mhm.
it as well. And I remember showing a few of my friends, they're like, did you write this? And I was like, no, but that's the right
But
answer. This song just like so relevant to like the context of
Mhm,
it, like the whole looping relationships. And I'm like, these words have been taken out of my mouth. Like if I have so many songs,
right?
like ideas about this and like what I go through with boys and just the craziness. And I was like, this is perfect. Like they could not have taken the words more
Mhm,
perfectly out of my mouth. So not only did I fall in love with the song right away, it just it it's so relatable to me in my life. And I think so many other people can relate to going through those kind of weird looping relationships and just kind of not knowing what's going on
that's
all the
awesome.
time. I'm very honest.
Hey, that's it. This is the exact same reason why this podcast exists.
Yeah.
So when you got it pitched to you, was the music already mastered, or did you have to go into a studio and have that all done?
So we took the song and just stripped it completely down. So we
Oh,
redid absolutely everything. So we got the demo, and then, go through the whole process being like, yep, you're good to go, get
mhm.
the lyrics sent to you, like all that kind of stuff. And I am super fortunate that my cousin who produced Take Me Back to Tiki also produced Broken Record, which is nice because, and his name's Alex Tomorrow. He's a
Shout
phenomenal
out, shout out, shout out.
shout out. He deserves every single shout out in the world. He's in a band called Valley. They're a Juno
Oh
nominated band. Like
yes.
they are just fantastic, killing it right now. And I'm thankful that I get to work with him because it's just such a comfortable, because obviously we're family. So that part's great. And then we get to do what we love together. So him and I go in, and he was one of the first people that heard that. He helped me pick the song. Essentially. So we're sitting there going through it together. And as we're getting ready to record, the lockdown happens in
Mm,
January, or like, so or when we know it's coming or whatever, right
yeah.
around Christmas time. And so we're like, well, guess we're packing up and heading to the cottage again. So we packed up all of our stuff and made our own little studio at the cottage in the basement. And that's where we recorded all of Broken Record essentially. And it was great because we didn't even have to leave our house to like go to a studio. Also, we couldn't go to a studio, so we kind of had to overcome that obstacle a little bit and figure it out. But it's almost like I've said now so many times, I was like, the cottage is now my recording studio. Like the last two singles have
That's
been
awesome.
recorded and produced there. And I was like, why would I give this up? It's like a little piece of serenity when you're recording. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could sit there and play at a cottage? Because I just feel like you'd be so at home with it. Like it would just be so
Yeah.
relaxing when you're doing it.
And that's exactly it. It's such a different, not that, I mean, I actually kind of enjoy like a little bit of pressure because I feel like it
Mm,
brings out the best in you sometimes. But also, like, there is no pressure. And that's kind of also like a very relaxing thing because you can just, it doesn't matter how long or how many takes we
yeah.
do. We can just go over and over and over again until we get it completely how we want it. And
Seriously, like the cottage, I feel like if you were to like say there are times when you just can't get it right, or something's just not listening and you're getting overly stressed about it and you've gone over it 1.5 million times, like to be able to just say, okay, hold up, let's go out to the fire pit, we're gonna sit
yeah,
here, we're gonna have a little relaxing time by the lake, and then we're gonna come back in and we're gonna try it out. Like that is a selling point. You should tell your cousin, like, maybe we should just move the studio to the cottage.
I think we got something going here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is. And it's just very, it's a really different environment. Like that's the only way I can describe it. And like relaxing is probably the perfect word for it because you can
Yeah,
just work on your own time and yeah, without worrying about like paying for extra studio time and all of that. Because those that can get expensive. It
that
can really
does. That does.
expensive.
It really does. Okay, so what about, how have you gotten this song ready for release?
Oh my gosh. I'm like a nervous
Yeah,
wreck
because
someday.
and the whole reason why is, so fans that are listening right now, unfortunately, it is not as simple as us recording a single and hitting a button and it gets sent worldwide to all these playlists, to all these radio stations. Or if you want it to happen like that, you have to pay a buttload of money for it.
It's
I was
an
actually listening to a podcast with Jim Cressman of Invictus Entertainment. He was talking with Gord Bamford, and one time, just the one time that Gord had actually tried to release a song to the States, and I'm very, very happy that it is not this much here. But in order to release it through the States on radio, he ended up paying somewhere close to like $100,000 in a month.
oh, oh, that hurts.
In a month.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of money that I
Like,
don't have.
and
Like,
luckily in Canada it is not that much, but
yeah,
it is still quite expensive for an independent country artist to try and get their music out there.
it is, and that's why I stress so much on social media, and
Mhm.
I hope I like don't annoy people with it. But supporting local artists and supporting your independent artists, just a quick pre-save or just
Yeah.
like following someone on Spotify actually makes a huge difference. It really can help kind of, and it sets the tone kind of for the release, like how all
Mhm.
of that leading up does to it, which is so crazy because you work so hard, you record it, you do everything, and then the work doesn't stop. You can't just
No.
be like, okay, work's done, time to just release the
Sit
song.
back, tiki
Yeah,
bar,
right?
and let
Song's
the
gonna
streams
do. For-
fly.
yeah. And it I wish it works like that. And
Mhm.
it's so you don't ever stop working. You don't ever stop. You have to go in with such a strategic promotional plan, really. And for Broken Record, we have put a lot into the streaming side of it this
Mhm.
time, um, instead of doing radio because again, expensive. Like we just
Mhm.
touched on it, very expensive. And you kind of have to pick and choose sometimes where you want your focus of the release to go. So a lot of
Yeah, and also, like, because there's so much music coming out every single day, like those people end up getting those
yeah,
thousands of emails, and it's not the fact that they're not sitting there saying, I don't want to listen to Page.
yeah.
Page just didn't show up on page one today.
Exactly, exactly. And it's tough. It's a really
Mhm.
tough industry. And like people aren't kidding when they say it's a tough industry. And as an outsider, I think people see how tough the music industry is. And then when you're in it, you're like, it can be a little defeating sometimes. But then what always like keeps me going is how much I just love.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
The
love it.
full passion of it always takes over.
Exactly. And it's
You,
like, well, it
mhm.
doesn't matter how tough it is. And my parents are really tough on there. So they're like, if you work hard, like something will happen. Don't know what, but like if you work hard and you're dedicated and you're passionate, like something in some way will work out and you'll be happy with what you're doing. But so for Broken Record, I ended up working with like we did a campaign for Apple Music and for Amazon playlisting. And then
Mhm.
we did do a pitch for CBC, like for the Sirius XM station,
Yeah.
just to try to get a little bit like out there on the radio, just because I love the song so much. And I was
Well,
like,
I
well,
mean, Sirius XM CBC is #1 preset in my truck. So yeah,
yes, I listen
yeah,
to it all the time. It's
me too.
fantastic. Fantastic. And what I love about it is when I listen to it and I hear my friends and the people I write with, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this is such a beautiful,
Right?
beautiful thing. And yeah, so we've done a lot of that. And what I've learned over the past year, I guess, like year and a bit, and I guess like really when COVID started, when I was finishing up university, when we went into lockdown like the
Mhm.
first time last year. So I had a couple exams and then I was done and I was like, well, I guess like I'm not going to be playing any shows, but this is a really good opportunity now that not that obviously music has always been the priority, but
Yeah.
school does take up a lot of your time too. So I
Hmm.
was like, now that school's done, like I have this all this time in the world to focus on me. And I kind of like sat back and researched, met a whole bunch of people online and just asked a lot of questions and kind of figured out and learned so many things where I was like, I have been doing this not wrong, but I was like, I haven't been taking all of the right
Yeah.
steps. And you figure it out, like each release, you learn something new.
Hmm.
And so for Broken Record, I felt a lot more prepared going into it. I had more support behind me too, which makes a difference just having like those other people to kind of like
Yeah.
bounce ideas off, bounce ideas off of. And also just like kind of help provide some guidance because it's hard to know what is right and what is wrong sometimes. So that part's great. So a whole bunch of preparation and just like social media, like all the posts and everything, like all of those are
Yeah.
so planned out too.
Right. It
It's
takes like a day of like pre-writing what you were going to say on Facebook or Instagram before you're like, okay,
exactly.
do I have the right hashtags? Do I
Yeah,
have the right tags in this to thank the people that need to be thanked right now? Am I missing anything? Am I going to piss somebody off with some word that's in this somewhere?
there's so much to think about. And you're right. As like, I don't think people understand that all the time, which how can you when you're not actually the one
Mhm.
doing it? Because
Doing
that's
it.
all
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff that you don't see happen. But for those of you that are listening, there is so much that goes into a release. So it is super important to support your local artists, support your indie artists because they need that extra support. They need that pre-save, that
Mhm.
follow. Everything is so important to help with releases.
I mean, even so because I'm a huge fan of Invictus Entertainment, and I've had the opportunity to work with them on multiple live shows.
Yeah.
Um, I follow Jim quite extensively, and he's kind of an unknown mentor to me in the music industry. So I always, any opportunity I get, I try to pick his brain, and I always ask him, I'm like, hey, like we have worked together before. I know that live music is different from streaming and different from radio and what you can make money off of. But what would it take for somebody to be able to work with a company like Invictus?
Right.
And basically he said you need to have something that we can sell.
Yes.
And the one thing that really sells well is streams or your presence on Facebook. The fact that you have so many followers or X amount of followers, or your song hit X amount of streams on Spotify in a month or anything like that. Like just that
Absolutely.
little bit of help from your fans and from your family and from all the support that you have could be the actual difference between
Yes.
all of a sudden you're sitting right next to Kira, or you're sitting right next to Tennille Arts, or even Tennille Towns. Like you
Yeah,
have, that's
completely.
the only difference between where you are right now and where everybody else is that you just need that little extra help from people.
And it's so true, like, that support, like, and I am so thankful for everyone that supports me,
Hmm.
and I'm sure everyone is all the time, but you're right, like, those followers, those streams, they are so important and make that difference kind of between, like, doing it full time and getting
Yeah.
to wake up and just do music every single day, and then kind of like, doing all those extra hustles with it.
the,
And everything.
the hustle I feel would still be there, but just to
Yes.
be able to say, okay, like what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a musician.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I also have a university degree, and I also have this, and I also do this, but I don't need that stuff anymore because my music helps me pay for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Hmm.
like, you're right, side hustles are still fun.
Oh,
That's
they
a big
actually,
part of it. You never stop working.
no, no. I always have something on the go, like maybe a podcast.
I love it. It's the best idea.
You know what? I honestly just sat here and I was like, I felt like a big fish in my city. So I live in Thunder Bay, which is a population of 110,000. There may be 5 country artists in the city. And no, except like Scott Van Tiefel and Scott Skirving, absolutely amazing artists in our town, but unfortunately they are up in age. So to appeal to a younger crowd, they usually ask me to open. So I've opened for Gord Manford and I've opened for
Amazing.
Aaron and Taybay and a few others out there, Doc Walker. But yeah, so I felt like a very big fish. And then COVID happened. And
Yeah,
I had to kind of figure out, because I had a big festival that I was like, man, like this was gonna be
not the worst.
yeah, like it was gonna be Country on the Bay, and I was opening up, and Toby Keith was the big headliner that for the festival, including like 1.5 million other
Wow.
amazing country artists.
Right.
But then all of a sudden it just got shut down, and I literally sat in my room and I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know where to go. So I literally just went on social media and I started playing live shows on my Facebook. And I was like, well, it's definitely not what you're going to get from a country concert experience, but
Yeah.
I still want to be able to play. And I hope you guys still want to watch.
I
And
know.
then somebody would show me, well, why don't you go play on this place? Like Barry's Live Music was a place
Yes.
that I found. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
why don't you go play on Barry's Live Music? At the time, they were just starting up and they only had 2,000 people. Now I think they're over like 12 or
Yeah. I was
13,000
gonna
now.
say
But
it's crazy.
yeah, so I played on there, and from there somebody's like, well, why don't you put this song on the Canadian Indie Country Countdown? And I was like, what's that?
That's exactly that was oh my god. See, another.
Yeah, right. Like
Look at this.
even when you were talking about like pushing your song and like learning all this stuff in this year, like you're picking from my brain here, Paige. I feel like we're really on the same page
We're on the
here.
same page.
So,
Exactly.
so yeah, like, and the whole year has been a learning experience. And I released a song called "A Bar Like This," and it did really, really well for me. I really liked the song, loved the response to it. But even then, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I still have a lot to learn for where I need to go to the next single.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I don't think you ever stop learning, which is kind of cool,
It,
really.
it is, for a guy that didn't like school so much. I do learn quite a bit.
That's good. Different kind of learning, a better kind of learning.
Right. So we've talked about how you're going with your song pitching and your radio distribution. What would make this release successful to you? What would you like to see it where you'd be like, all the hard work is paid off?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of have two different answers here because I look at them. Well, I mean, I guess they like kind of go together, but obviously, who doesn't want their song to just take off?
Catapult.
Just, right? Like, that would be
Mhm.
the dream, I think, for anybody, and just to reach so many new people and so many new listeners. And, right?
Oh
Who
yeah,
doesn't,
absolutely, yeah.
right? But there's also, so I received a message, and like I said kind of earlier, like I've always, there's a part of me that realizes how important music is to
Mhm.
people and how it's there for you in the best times. It's there for you in the worst times. Like it makes you feel good. But then I also, who doesn't love just like turning up the radio really loud and belting a sad car or a
Right.
sad song in their car, right? That's the best thing to do. But I received a message over Instagram over, I guess it was in January, like just kind of after Christmas time. And it was a young girl that messaged me. And she said to me something along the lines of, like, I'm really glad I found your music over this time. Like, it's really helped me get through COVID and like through the lockdowns and everything. And it's just really made a difference in my life. And I was like, well, that's the nicest thing that anybody,
Right.
like, that's why you wake up and do this, because
Mhm.
you just want your music to touch people. And even though Broken Record is like super fun and like poppy and upbeat and like hopefully makes you want to dance, I hope that people can find a piece of it in themselves and like figure out like Broken Record like means something to them as much as
Yeah.
it means to me. So that is what I like hope to do every single time I release a song. And then obviously just like hopefully it does super
I
well.
mean, if it went platinum, that would be
I mean, I
absolutely
wouldn't be
incredible.
upset.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Exactly.
I've had another similar experience where there's been somebody that has messaged me on Facebook or what have you, even stopped me on the street and just been like, man, that song Closure. Like even Walter the other day messaged me up and he's like, man, I still can't get closure out of my head. And
And
to
that's why we
and,
do it.
and to me, I was like, if I'm ranking my songs,
Yeah.
I don't feel like Closure's my top song.
How it
I
always
I
happens.
absolutely love Closure, and I love the like jazziness
Yeah.
to it, and I liked how I just wanted to go in a different way. That song was also pitched to me. The gentleman and the female that wrote that song, the gentleman Maxwell Camp, who was in Glee the musical on Broadway. Um,
Ow.
Looking for a
Oh,
road. Yeah, right. Looking for a road actually was pitched to me through a company. And the one of the songwriters for Jesus Take the Wheel wrote Looking for a
exactly.
Road, right? So once I heard it was like, yeah, this guy wrote for Jesus Take the Wheel and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, so I'll just pick that
Yeah,
song.
right?
I'll
So
put
that seems
that
like a
there.
great song.
Yeah. I'll be like, that one just automatically recorded. This one's a yes. This one's a maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually intrigued because this is one of the few times where I've actually had somebody on the show that has actually had songs pitched to them.
It's a very interesting experience. And I'm
Mhm.
really glad that I decided to go in that direction because I mean, I am so excited for Broken Record. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever felt this much excitement over releasing a song. But you also you like make those connections and
Mhm.
it's cool and it's like a really good way to learn about that side of the music industry because there's so much you just have to learn and have to know that no one really teaches you. You just kind of got to figure it out
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
so it was great. It was a really great learning experience, which, like I said, I like to take things and just kind of always learn from them and grow from
Mhm.
them. But then I'm also just really excited about the song. So.
Well, like I've said before, it is an absolutely amazing song, and
Yeah.
I'm not giving away anything, but the hook on that song is incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's really catchy. Like,
It is.
yeah,
I've already hummed it on the show, but do 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 do
it
do
gets you.
do do. Like I already see myself like cranking that song in the truck and having the bass play through it,
Thank
and
you.
but
That's the best thing.
that's another thing that I also realize that I'm doing nowadays is because I'm starting to kind of understand a little bit more about song releasing and stuff. I close my eyes and I picture it up on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I see this song doing
I do.
really well in a live performance, or is this one of the songs that we call fillers?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and as soon as the hook comes on, I can just like, okay, the lights popping, you got all your musicians on stage just going, yeah, like that's,
And
and I was just like, yeah, there it is. I was like,
I
this
oh,
song's gonna be incredible live. I cannot wait to see this song live.
we're actually doing a live off the floor video for it that like it's kind of going to serve as the music video because there was a huge part of like when we were talking about everything, we're like, when are we going to get to play this
Mm-hmm.
live? Like that's kind of everyone's question right now, right? Like, when are we going to get to do like a live concert?
Yeah.
So we decided
Especially
instead,
when you see down south, like in the States, like
oh,
everybody's able to play.
and it hurts.
It
It
does. It
hurts.
does.
But so we were talking about it and we're like, well, instead of doing a music video, let's do a live off the floor video that can serve as the music video. So I am very excited for that because filming is next week.
That's
And we're just like, the guys and I are talking and we're like, imagine playing with a band again. Like, what is this going to be
right.
like?
I don't even know, like, how rusty are we going to be? Ooh,
Right.
that's just from my experience. Like, I could sit here and be like, man, I haven't really seen my guys in for
I
like a
know.
year. I think
I have
the last
you
show we did maybe
yeah,
was like a block party. I think we did like a parking lot party or something, but
love that.
we'll do anything in Thunder Bay to play live music.
That's great.
Well, Paige, thank you so much. What advice would you give 16-year-old Paige Rutledge? So this is the lady that is just starting out in her life. She's trying to figure out what she wants to do with the rest of her life. What kind of advice would you give knowing what you know now?
Don't be so hard on yourself. I am so tough on myself and like to a fault sometimes,
Mhm.
I think. And that is something that I've been really trying to work on the past bit where not everything has to be so perfect all the time. Like things will work out. Don't be so hard. don't be so like mean to yourself kind of in a way too. I don't think I'm ever like mean to myself, but like, don't be hard on yourself. Just work hard, be passionate, and just don't give up. That's the advice I would give myself.
Absolutely. I feel like I need to give myself that at age 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and all the way up to the beautiful age of 31 that I am now.
Love it. I still tell myself that too. I'm like, age, just relax a bit.
And it's difficult sometimes because like you just see like there'll just be that one post or that one thing that like is just that little tiny bit of an irk, and it can ruin your whole day just working on it.
True. So yeah, it's true.
So we have Broken Record coming out. We now know a surprise that a music video is in store.
I spoiled that.
That's all right. I'll take it. I'm not editing it out. It is exclusive for the podcast.
It's going in there. It's happening. And you know what? While you're here, just watch the video when it comes out.
Absolutely. Please do. Like I said, once you hear the song, you're gonna know that it live is gonna be incredible.
I can't wait.
So Paige, what's next for you?
Yeah. I'm already planning the next single because, like I said earlier, it doesn't.
Can we have a little tiny tidbit, like maybe what the song is about?
So it's gonna be a summertime kind of like country banger, you know, like following up with something just as fun, a little bit more sunshiny, like that kind of vibe going into it. And the goal is to have that released sometime in the summertime. I see him too. I think he was out for a run or something. I don't know what he was doing.
Anyways, he was just poking his head around. And he looked like he was dancing.
Seeing what's going on.
Of course.
But yeah, leading up to that. And then obviously, I don't think anybody kind of knows what the future of live music is for the summer of 2021. Just yet. It's not looking obviously the most positive. But people will get creative again, I'm sure, and everyone will find ways to make live music happen. But obviously, we're not getting those big festivals. So my goal for 2021 is just to release as much music as I can and head into next year with like this brand new set list and new music, new sound, and just be so ready to come back onto the stage.
Now, with these songs, are you releasing them as singles, or are you hoping to keep them as a collaborative for a CD?
That's a great question. They are just going to be released as singles right now, and then into early 2022, I would love to do an EP. I haven't fully decided yet if it's going to have this collection of singles or if it's just going to be something
completely brand new.
Yeah. And I go back and forth on my head, like with what I want to do about that. I have done so much writing and there's so many songs I want to share where I just want them all out there. But also, again, it's going to come back to kind of like we talked about, everything is strategic and everything has its plan behind it. So that's kind of going to be, I guess, the determining factor.
Fair enough. And I mean, as most of us, pretty much it's going to come down to whether or not we actually are able to do this kind of stuff and whatnot.
Exactly. That's very true.
I absolutely love the idea that you're struggling with that concept, as again, I am as well. With I don't know if I want to take the 3 singles that I released over the last 2 years and put them onto an EP, or if I just want to start from scratch and do it, or do I want to combine all my songs that I've done so far and do a completely remastered CD?
There's so many options. There's so many you can do.
Exactly. And I already know that if I take my older songs and kind of give them a little bit new shiny or copper or whatnot, absolutely, I know that people are going to enjoy them again. So
right. And that's like, I'm a little bit of a song hoarder too, where I'm like, oh, I like this one. I just want everyone to listen to it over and over and over again. So it's tough sometimes to like give up the old songs too, but it's all part of the process.
Awesome. So where can brand new fans of Paige Rutledge who are tuning in today find all your music and all your socials? I
am everywhere. And Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, iTunes, wherever you listen to your music. If you just search Paige Rutledge, you will find me. Same thing on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I guess I can say now because I love TikTok and Twitter.
And something that you may not know right now, if you Google your name, everything pops up Paige Rutledge.
I know. And I knew I was there, but for some reason the other day I put in Take Me Back to Tiki and the lyrics came up and I was like, oh, okay.
Did you write them?
I guess it's probably from, in my head, I was like, who did this?
Right? Like that,
okay.
that would be my thing. I'd be like, somebody wrote the lyrics to my song.
But I think it's because the lyrics are synced like on Apple Music when you do all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that makes
that's how
sense.
Google
Actually.
got it, but they're on Google.
Yes.
Yeah.
My highlight was when I said, "Hey Alexa, play Tim Albertson," and she's like, "Playing Tim Albertson on Spotify," and I'm like, "Yes,
Yes, right.
Alexa knows I exist."
And I am so happy about it.
That was my success for a bar like this. Alexa knows that she could sing it.
I love it. I love it.
Paige, thank you so much for coming on this show. It has been absolutely incredible. I am so happy that we decided to do this week because like I had, unfortunately, Hendrik was a little bit of a cancellation, but I wanted to have you on this podcast as soon as I started it because of how amazing you are and how amazing your music is.
Thank you so much.
I cannot believe how close we are together in terms of like mindsets and stuff.
Totally on the same page. I love that. You know what? It's so cool when you find people like that. There's a reason we had to connect, and this was the reason.
And that's it. And we're going to have to continue to connect because I cannot wait to work with you. I thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. And please let us know when we can have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I don't think I've stopped smiling this whole entire time. We had so much fun. So
it was
anytime,
incredible.
I'm so happy to come back.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, Tim Albertson here, host of the Canadian Country Music Podcast. And if you like this episode, we got plenty more. Come check us out. Just search the Canadian Country Music Podcast on all major streaming podcast platforms. And I will see you guys there. What do you think, Trace? Tracy seems excited. You should be too, guys. Take care. Mwah!